Our next panel is the Ontario Coalition of Better Childcare, Ability Members Group, and Ontario's Big City Mayors. And so if they will come forward, as we have done in the past with other delegations, you will have 7 minutes to make your presentation. At 6 minutes, I will say 1 minute. Don't stop talking, because 1 minute later, I'm going to stop you from talking. So with that, we also ask everyone that's making a presentation to give their name at the start of the presentation so Hansard can record that. And with that, the first presenter will be the Ontario Coalition of Better Childcare, for Better Childcare.
Thank you, and thank you so much for your time this afternoon. My name is Carolyn Ferns. I'm the policy coordinator for the Ontario Coalition for Better Childcare. Our coalition is Ontario's central advocacy group for a universal, affordable, high-quality system of early learning and childcare. We've been around since 1981 and are a coalition who bring together nonprofit childcare programs from across Ontario, as well as individuals and organizations who care about the issue of childcare. Our members are early childhood educators, their parents, their grandparents. Most importantly, we're people who care about childcare. So I want to talk a little bit about the Canada-wide early learning and childcare system and the difference that it's making. In just 1 year, Ontario's commitment to $10 a day childcare under the Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare Plan is already making life more affordable for so many Ontario families. It's not an understatement to call it a game changer for families. At a time when every other household expense is going up, in 2023, childcare fees have been cut in half for hundreds of thousands of families using licensed childcare. But the truth is that we're only scratching the surface of what this program can do. We need to reach more families and ensure quality programs for young children. And to do that, we have to respond to an urgent challenge, and that's the childcare workforce crisis. We have a workforce retention and recruitment crisis in childcare that predated the pandemic and has only gotten worse. Right now, few childcare programs around Ontario can actually operate at their full capacity because of the crisis in retention and recruitment of staff. Around Ontario, many programs are closing rooms or having to limit their enrollment because of the staffing shortage. That means that if you went to any childcare program here in Toronto, or you went to Sault Ste. Marie or down to Windsor, most childcare programs might have a room closed, a room full of toys, nicely built, space ready to go, gathering dust and with the lights off because they cannot staff right now. And so as Ontario tries to meet its goal to build 86,000 new childcare spaces, the Ministry of Education estimates that, quote, without interventions related to recruitment and retention, there could be an estimated shortage of 8,500 registered early childhood educators by 2026. And that's just to meet the planned spaces under the Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare Plan. So that's why we're making a workforce strategy and salary scale our #1 budget priority this year. We recommend that Ontario invest an initial $300 million to develop and implement a province-wide salary scale in early learning and childcare, starting at $25 per hour for all staff and $30 per hour for registered early childhood educators. A salary scale and decent work standards will reverse the childcare workforce shortage and ensure enough qualified workers to better meet the anticipated demand for $10 a day childcare. So our coalition thinks that that is the issue that needs to be tackled with the most urgency when it comes to childcare. But I also want to talk a bit about the future of the $10 a day childcare plan, because this is going to be a popular program for families, right? It's going to be a legacy program for this government, akin to the pride that we have in the creation of our health and education systems. But Ontario's Financial Accountability Office has estimated that as childcare fees are lowered under CWELC, demand from families is going to significantly exceed planned supply. Over time, as fees are lowered to an average of $10 per day, Ontario is going to need approximately 200,000 additional childcare spaces than what we currently have planned. So to meet this estimated demand from families for affordable childcare is going to require a long-term and ambitious plan for expansion of spaces. And that's going to include capital funding, public planning, and a long-term workforce training strategy. And while the federal childcare funding is significant, it cannot relieve Ontario of its provincial responsibility for childcare. Families don't care where the money comes from. They don't care whose plan it is. They need every level of government working together to realize the promise of $10 a day childcare. So our second budget priority is that Ontario should begin immediately to increase its provincial general allocation to childcare by $240 million to at least keep pace with inflation. Since 2018, the provincial childcare allocation to municipalities has been flatlined at near $1.67 billion. But while CWELC funding from the federal government has increased the overall childcare budget, federal funds are tied to really specific objectives to lower fees and expand those spaces. The province needs to increase its general allocation to childcare, just as a starting point. And then Ontario really should convene a really transparent, publicly accountable advisory commission that can engage public bodies, municipalities and school boards, nonprofit operators, and the community to help develop a public expansion and funding plan to meet the diverse needs of Ontario families. This is going to need a long-term and ambitious plan to make this happen. We're talking about needing 200,000 new spaces and the staff to work in them and lead those programs to really make sure that this is a program that's equitable and affordable and available to all families across Ontario. So that brings me to our final budget priority, which is that Ontario should adopt and implement the Childcare Community's Roadmap to Universal Childcare in Ontario, which sets out our vision and shared path forward for Ontario childcare. A copy of the roadmap is available on our website, and there's a link to it in the written brief that I submitted to the committee and to the Ministry of Finance. So thank you very much for your time this afternoon, and I'm happy to take any questions at the end of the panel.
Thank you very much for that presentation.